Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It's 9 o'clock. It's time for another video. It's time for a 5x5 because it's a Monday, and that's where I take 5 subjects related to magic. I spend 5 minutes talking about each subject. I move on to the next subject. It's quick, it's snappy. You never know what you're going to get. Now today, I'm going to be speaking to you about, I made notes. You can always tell that, when I take something seriously, when I take notes. And today, I'm going to be talking about 5 habits that keep magicians booked all year round. Now, anybody that's been watching this channel for any length of time will know that I love talking about business. I really do. My background is in marketing and sales and business, and outside of what I do on Magic TV, I actually coach people in their business with nothing to do with magic. I love talking about business. I love talking about business growth. I love talking about marketing. Now, I'm very sporadic with those videos that I put on Magic TV about business because I know a lot of people really aren't interested. However, for the people that are interested, this is a really cool video that I've spent a little while putting together. Like I said, I've got notes here because this is going to be really important. 5 habits that keep magicians booked all year round. Because you see, when you become a full-time professional magician, the most important thing are bookings. Okay? So because of that, the most important thing is marketing. You see, marketing is the lifeblood of any business. If you don't market, then you're not going to get leads. If you don't get leads, then you don't get a chance to sell to those leads. So there's no sales process. If there's no sales process, there's no bookings. If there's no bookings, there's no income. If there's no income, there's no money, there's no profit, and you don't have a business, you have a hobby. So the most important thing is to make sure those bookings come in. A regular flow of leads will lead to a regular flow of bookings. Now, with that in mind, I'm going to talk about several things that I've learned over the last 20 or 30 years of running my own business that will allow you to make sure that you've got lots and lots of bookings constantly in your diary, lots and lots of bookings, lots of leads coming in, lots of leads converting into bookings. We're going to go into this. This is probably one of the most important videos I've ever made on this channel. Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about is the first thing that keeps top magicians fully booked all year round. They follow up like a pro. Let me tell you this right now. My very first business coach, Doug Dorbury, told me this years ago, and it is so important. The fortune is in the follow-up. Follow-up is so important. Now, how do you follow up? What do I mean by follow-up? Well, I'm going to assume that you've had a lead come in. Let's just say somebody's called you up wanting you to do close-up magic next year at a wedding, okay? That's your inquiry. That's your lead. And you've rung them up, or you've spoken to them, or you've sent them an email and you've said, yeah, I'm available. What happens after that point? What happens after you've said that you're available? Well, do you just leave it? Because most professional magicians that I've spoken to, they just leave it. They've dealt with the inquiry, that's boxed off, that's ticked off. Now they move on to whatever it is that they're going to be doing with their day. You know, safe in the knowledge that they have dealt with that inquiry and that inquiry is sorted and everything's fine. Here's the most important thing. You need to follow up. You need to follow up. You need to follow up until that inquiry has turned into a booking or is dead. You need to follow up. So let's say that person calls you up and they go, I'm really looking to book a magician. I'm looking for a magician next year for a wedding. You pitch them, you tell them you're available, you give them the price, and they go, okay, I'm going to need to go away and think about it. I'll get back to you. Don't let them just say, I'm going to get back to you. You need to make sure that the ball is in your court. So if they say that, you turn around to them and you say, that's absolutely fine. I totally understand. A lot of people need to think about it. It's a big decision what magician to get. Shall I give you a call in, say, a week's time? The event's not till next year. Have a look at I'll send you an email with some videos of me performing. I'll send you a video with some links to testimonials. Have a look at that. You can see the type of magic that I do. You can see the type of performance I do. And then I can call you in a week's time and you can let me know what you want me to do and whether you'd like to go ahead and book this or not. Would that be okay? They will always say yes. And if they say no, don't get back to me, it's effectively not going to be a booking anyway. They're trying to fob you off. So when they say yes, you go, brilliant. Well, it's Tuesday right now. Shall I call you next Tuesday? Yeah, that would be fantastic. Brilliant. What time would you like me to call you? 7 o'clock. Okay, no problem. I'll call you at 7 o'clock in the evening. And then if you want me to speak to your partner at that point, I can. If you want me to go through any other information, I can. But then you can let me know what you want to do. Okay, brilliant. So then you ring that person back at 7 o'clock next Tuesday, and then you have the conversation. Hey, we spoke last week. You asked me to give you a call back. I'm just calling about the event that you've got. I know you were thinking about having a magician. Had you given it any more thought? Would you like me to go ahead and book that in for you? Now, they're either going to say yes, which happens more often than not, or they're going to say, I need a bit more time, in which case you give them a bit more time and you arrange to call them back again at some point down the line. You keep going until it's a yes or it's a no. The fortune is in the follow-up. The amount of times that I've booked people in that have spoken to other magicians, but then they've booked me instead because that magician never got back to them. It is so important that you follow up. It's so important that you follow up with every single lead, because that lead is important. You've worked hard to get that lead. You've worked hard. You might have spent money on PPC. You might have spent money on something else, maybe a wedding fair or something. You spent money on that lead. You spent time putting your website together, crafting your marketing approach, crafting your digital footprint to get that person to fill in a form so that you've got that lead. You're literally shooting yourself in the foot if that lead is not dealt with seriously. Don't just get out the door as quickly as you can. You want to turn that lead into a booking, and the best way to do that is by following up. Okay, the second habit that you need to do, the second thing that top pros will do to make sure their calendar is constantly filled, is they never stop marketing. What do I mean by they never stop marketing? Well, a good business will constantly be marketing. A good business will constantly be putting that marketing in place. I've got a friend who does their own SEO, and they do decently with their SEO. They rank pretty high. And then what happens is they go through periods of weeks and months where they tend not to do anything on their SEO. And what tends to happen is they drop down and they start to get less inquiries. And really, the only way to actually get those inquiries to come back in is by starting that whole process again from the beginning. I've spoken to so many magicians and they say, oh, I really only market when it's quiet. Well, that's not the time to market. You should be marketing at all points. You know, a lot of magicians will turn around to me and say, you know what, in the Christmas period, it's so busy. I'm constantly going out and doing gigs. It's really busy at Christmas. I haven't got time to do my marketing strategy, my marketing approach. I haven't got time to do the stuff that I'd normally do. So I just leave it and I'll do it in January. And then the same people will moan that they've got no bookings in January. Well, you know what? A lot of people that want to book it in January, they're going to do it in December. But if you're not marketing and you're not taking a direct approach to marketing and sales during that busy month, you're never going to get the bookings that other people will have got in that month. They're there. You just need to grab hold of them. Yes, you market when it's quiet, because when it's quiet, you want to get busier. But you market when it's busy because that's the marketing that you do then is going to generate bookings that are going to turn into money during the period of times in the future when it's quiet. And it has to be a consistent process. It's all to do with consistency and consistently marketing and consistently marketing. It's really important that when you've built up that momentum, you keep that momentum going. It's a little bit like, imagine you've got this giant boulder and you've got this really long straight road, and your job is to push this boulder along this road. Well, it's so big, it's bigger than you, that when you start to try and roll it, excuse me, you're going to have to put all of your time and effort and energy even to move it slightly. But what happens is you put all of this effort in and the boulder starts rolling. And as you continue to put effort in, it continues to roll faster and faster and faster. That's what happens when you first set up your marketing. Initially, you're going to be doing everything and it really makes no impact. And it only starts to make an impact when you start to put more effort in. And then what will happen is the marketing will work and you'll start getting more leads and more leads and more leads. The problem is, if you stop pushing that boulder, it will continue to roll for a little bit. You'll think it's fine and you don't have to put the effort in. But at some point, it will slow down, it will stop. And when it does, the only way to get that boulder to continue to move again is by putting the same amount of effort in that you did at the beginning. The way to keep that boulder moving is continue to put effort in. It's the same with marketing. Once you've got a marketing system in place, once you've got a marketing strategy, you don't want to stop doing it, because it's just going to cause that boulder to slow down and stop. And at that point, it's going to be harder to get that marketing flow back in place, that generation of leads back in place. It is really important to continue to market 24/7. You must ask yourself a question. This is a business coach said this to me once. Ask yourself a question at the end of every day. What have you done this day that has caused your business to move forward? And if the answer is nothing, that's not a good situation to be in. Constantly be marketing. Okay, so habit number 3, the third thing that top pros do in order to generate more bookings is they make sure that they are developing long-term relationships with their clients. You know what? The best way to generate bookings is by having a client that's going to use you again and again and again. And that's kind of the secret to our success here. We make sure that we nurture relationships with all of our existing clients. We've got clients that use us literally 3 or 4 times a year. They'll bring us up at the beginning of the year and they'll use us at the beginning of every single year over and over and over again. And it's because we've built up a relationship with that client. We've got a relationship because we've built that relationship up. When that person calls us, we don't just go, oh, who are you again? We've got notes on our CRM system about everything that we've spoken about in the past. We can bring up things that we've spoken about in the past because we're building up that relationship. We've gone out of our way and gone above and beyond to make sure that we have relationships with every single client. And having those relationships in place is important because it can really help lead to a lot more bookings. I've got a friend, and he is a full-time professional magician, and he spoke to me last month and he's like, I'm really struggling. December bookings aren't coming in. I've got no December bookings. What should I do? And I said, well, what you need to do is reach out by email or phone call to every single client that's used you over December for the last 2 years and say to them that's booked you for like company Christmas parties, and contact them and say, hey, just so you know, I'm getting really busy for Christmas. I've still got some slots left, but I've got a brand new show, brand new act for Christmas this year. I'd love to be able to get you locked in. And I said, because here's the thing, you know that those people have a budget for entertainment because they've booked you before. You know they have a Christmas party, and you know they're going to probably book something again. And you've got a relationship with them. And he contacted me about a week later and he said, I've just got 8 gigs in the calendar. I just did what you said. I contacted them all by email. I had a bunch of people come back and 8 of them have now confirmed bookings. That's the power of relationship marketing. And that's the most important thing. When you're running a business, the key thing is to build up relationships. Build up relationships with the venues you go to. Build up relationships with other magicians. Build up relationships with clients that have used you in the past that want to use you again. Build up all of these relationships because honestly, it's so important. If you build up these relationships and you have a Rolodex, there you go, I'm showing my age now. If you have a Rolodex of people that you can contact and you can speak to, it's going to cause a steady flow of gigs to come into your business. You need to make sure that you're building relationships up with everybody you meet. Make sure that you are the go-to person so that if they need something, they know that they can go to you. Okay, number 4, the 4th habit that top pros use to make sure their calendar is constantly refreshed is they keep their act fresh. And this is vitally important. You want to make sure that your act is fresh. Whether you're a close-up magician or a stage magician, you want to make sure that you've got something new. We go out of our way to make sure that our clients know that we've got a new show. Every year, we'll put a new show together. We actually, when I take a booking for an illusion show or a cabaret show or anything like that, I write down on our calendar system and on our CRM, I write down exactly what was done in that show. And I let the client know that I have. At the end of the show, I'll say, right, just so you know, I'm glad you were happy. We've made a note of what we've done here, so if you want to use this again in the future, we'll make sure we do something completely different for you. And that's really important because the amount of times that I've had phone calls from people and they've asked me if I'm available or if somebody in my company is available, and when I've said I am, and they've said, oh, I've had magicians in the past. In fact, I've used the same magician for the last 3 years. And I say, okay, cool. Is there a reason that you're switching for it? And they go, yeah, they did the same things every single year. They did the same tricks every year. They're great, but everyone's seen them now. We need something fresh. And you know what? The amount of times I get people booking us because they're sick to death of having that magician come in and do the same things over and over again. If you're doing that, you might not even realize that your clients are going elsewhere, but they are. You need to make sure that you come to the table with something different. You need to make sure that you come to the table with something fresh. If you've got a stage show, launch a new stage show. That's what the guys that do the Edinburgh Fringe do so well. They launch a new show every single year. And so there's always something fresh. There's always something different. But if if you're a close-up magician and you're getting somebody that's booking you 3 or 4 times a year, you need to make sure that, one, you're doing different material each time, especially if it's the same group of people that are coming to watch you. But two, you're, more importantly, really, you're letting that client know that you're doing something new, that they're not just getting the same thing over and over again, but they're getting something different. That is so vitally important. I see magicians that do the same 5 tricks over and over again, and they never change it up, and they just continue to do the same thing, and they're just going through the motions. And that's not a great thing to be in. That's not a great thing to do. You want to make sure that you're keeping your act as fresh as possible, because then you're encouraging people to book you again and again and again, knowing they're going to get something different. Okay, the 5th habit that pros do, the top pros do to make sure they've got lots of bookings, is they treat their business like a business. Now, I've spoken about this before on this channel, but it is so vitally important that you treat your business like a business. Because here's the thing, you are a business owner. You may be a self-employed magician. You may not have an office. You may not have a HR department. You may not have a marketing department. You may not have a workforce. You may just be you sitting in your kitchen with a laptop. But the bottom line is, at the end of the day, that is your business, and you need to treat that like a business. You need to make sure that you are 100% focused on being in business. When I first set up as a professional magician, I was working from home. My wife would ring me up constantly throughout the day and say, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do the other? Because from her point of view, I was just sitting at home. I wasn't doing anything. And so I was getting little chores that I had to do, and I was ending up not spending time on my business. So I wasn't getting the bookings through that I wanted. You have to make sure that you are laser focused on running your business. Go and get yourself a space that you can go to away from your house, because if you're sitting in your house, everything's going to be distracting. You're going to wake up in the morning, and when you wake up in the morning, the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to switch your TV on, make yourself a cup of coffee, and you're going to drink that cup of coffee, you're going to watch a TV show, then you're going to open up your laptop, and you're going to look and probably get distracted by Facebook, and then there's going to be an email that goes through to a magic shop's website, and you're going to end up looking at a bunch of stuff like that, and before you know it, you're halfway through the day and you've done nothing. You've been a busy fool. You need to eliminate that. The best thing I ever did was get myself a little office. I couldn't afford it, but I knew I needed to get out of my house, and that is when my growth really started to happen. You don't have to get a little office if you don't want to. You can just sit in a coffee shop or something, somewhere where you're not going to be distracted. But here's the thing, how do you get more done? People ask me all the time, how do you do time management? How do you get so much done in a day? Oh, Craig's really busy. He's a workhorse. How does he get so much stuff done in a day? Well, the reason is I'm very protective of my time, and I'm not going to be a busy fool. There's so many magicians out there that are busy fools. They sit there and they pretend that they're working all day, and they will pretend that they've had a really busy day, when in actual fact, if they analyze what they've done, they've basically done dick. And that's the most important thing. If you're going to work in your business, you have to be present in your business. You have to treat your business like a business. Have a start time. I'm going to be at my desk by 9 o'clock. I'm going to finish at 5 o'clock. And don't fall into the trap of saying, well, my job is to go out and perform. No, it's not. That's the fun part. When you go out and you perform, that's the fun part. Everything else that you need to do is what you need to do to make sure that your business is successful. If you don't do it, or you half-arse it, or you just do it a little bit, you're not going to be a successful business owner. You're never going to get the type of leads and gigs that you want, that you deserve, that you should have, because you're too busy just not doing it, basically, at the end of the day. So the most important thing is you treat your business like a business, and you make sure that you put 100% in every single working day. So there you go, guys. That's another video in the bag. Thank you once again for joining me here on Magic TV. I hoped it helped. If it did, let me know down below in the comments. If you want to see a ton more business advice, all you got to do is go into the Netrix. It's my online streaming platform for magicians. It's called thenetrix.com. You can get access immediately. Outside of that, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again. My name's Craig, and this is Magic TV.